Hi friends, today we are going to see about the Apache Spark architecture. As we all know, Apache Spark is a framework for large-scale data processing. In this Apache Spark framework uses a master-slave architecture. Master-slave architecture is that one node acts as a master, which will maintain metadata and all other information gathering and everything. And other nodes, one or more nodes, acts as slaves for processing the particular action. To perform the particular action, which is derived based on the metadata in the master. Now we are going to see about that. What are the important components of Spark architecture? First one is the driver. Second one is the cluster manager. Third one is the executor, and the fourth one is the task. Let's see one by one. What are the responsibility of each component? The first is the driver. Driver calls the main program of the application, and it creates the Spark context. The main program is in this case of Scala, we use the Scala object, and main program in the case of Python, we call the main programs, which where we implement the logics, we wrote the logics and all, right? And then in turn it creates the Spark context, SE. The Spark context helps us to read the properties of the Spark environment and able to access and process in the Spark environment. So Spark context is a kind of gateway to get into the Spark environment for our program. And also the program is responsive for the three main actions. One is logical plan, another one is the DAG scheduler, and execution plan. In this DAG scheduler means D-acyclic graph scheduler, which is give the graphical representation for our plans to execute. As we know, we all know the Spark will execute programs into transformation and action format. So we'll see all these things in the detail. But we have three main logical plans in the backend of Spark. Spark engine execute this logical plan as a positive logical plan, analysis logical plan, and optimized logical plan. Actually, logical plan is a tree representation. Manipulated and optimized with the catalyst framework. We'll see the catalyst optimizer in the upcoming videos, and the DAG scheduler also in the upcoming video. So these are the responsibility for the driver program. And next main component is the cluster manager. Now we have the driver which creates the plan for us, which creates the Spark context to access the Spark environment, and then we have the plan to execute. Now we need a resource to execute this plan. So to get the resource, the driver will contact the cluster manager. The cluster manager is responsible for resource allocation and split the job into the multiple small tasks and distributed to the executors. So cluster manager is responsible for the resource allocation. Cluster manager works on top of the cluster, like a yarn cluster, like this, another resource to negotiate, Mesos cluster, or sometimes it is standalone. So cluster manager works on a different, can sit on the different cluster based on the requirements. Mostly in your program we are using the yarn cluster, that is Hadoop yarn cluster. So cluster manager is responsible for the resource allocation. The next one is the executor. Executor is work on the worker nodes. Driver is on the master node, and executor is on the worker node. The executor executes the task assigned from the cluster manager, and then return back it to the cluster manager, and the cluster manager return back to the driver. This is the responsibility of the executor, but executor is very important one, because executor subdivided is task into multiple small tasks and execute the logic on top of the data. Actually, the beauty of big data is the program, the code part, the coding, the logic will move to the where data located and process the data in the location where data is located. Instead of previously and all moving the data where the code located, but in the big data case and all, usually we will move the code to the where data located. And with the parallel processing. So executor turns back to the multiple task and execute our logic on top of the data in the parallel processing panel. Okay, this is the responsibility of the executors. So now we are going to see the graphical representation of Spark architecture. So in master node, we have the driver. Driver turns all the main program. Main programs create the Spark context. And then it looks for the resource. So it contact the cluster manager. And then the cluster manager subdivide the task into multiple small tasks, multiple tasks, split into multiple tasks, and distributed to the executors. And the executor subdivide the task into small tasks and the parallel processing on top of the data called task. So each task is JVM. You run on that one. So the memory process and all we are going to see in the upcoming sessions. So this is the graphical presentation of Spark architecture. I hope you understand the Spark architecture. If you have any comments or queries, please comment on the comment part. We are happy to answer you or clarify you. Or if any improvement comments, please let us know. So we'll improve our presentations. Thank you, friends.